So, you want to lose $50 million? There are faster ways. A casino table can take it in a weekend, a divorce in about a year. But you're not looking for fast. You want to lose it slowly, beautifully, in a linen shirt with a glass in your hand, watching the sun go down over rows of vines with your name on the gate. Then what you want is a vineyard, and you'd be in excellent company. In 2021, one American wine company went public at a valuation of $690 million. Wall Street applauded. 3 years later, it was standing in a Delaware bankruptcy court while everything, the wineries, the tasting rooms, more than 30 brands, was carved up and sold for roughly $158 million. Cents on the dollar, poured out like the last of a corked bottle. Here's the part that should genuinely worry you. The people who lose fortunes on vineyards are not fools. They're surgeons, founders, retired executives, people who spent 30 years running numbers for a living, who read every contract twice. The vineyard beat them anyway, because there is one number, one, that almost nobody checks before they sign. It is not the price of the land. It is not the cost of the winery. It never appears on the brochure. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that number is, and why it kills 19 owners out of 20. But first, let's go shopping. Let's buy you a vineyard. Every vineyard story starts the same way, so let's start yours properly. You did everything right. You built the company, or you did the surgeries, or you rode the stock options all the way up and got out clean. You're somewhere north of 55. The kids are through college. And one warm October weekend in Napa Valley, standing in somebody's tasting room with the light coming through a glass of Cabernet, a thought arrives. The same thought that has ruined more smart people than any casino ever built. I could do this. Careful. That is the most expensive sentence in the English language. But fine, you're doing it. Let's look at the invoice. Prime Napa Valley vineyard land, planted, producing, the real thing, runs $300,000 to $500,000 an acre. Read that again. Not a house, not a hotel, dirt. Dirt with sticks in it. You want a respectable 40 acres, so that's somewhere between $12 and $20 million before you own a single building. Thinking of buying raw land instead and planting it yourself to save money. Wonderful instinct. Add $25,000 to $40,000 an acre for rootstock, trellises, irrigation, and labor. And add one more thing the broker will mention very, very quietly, a wait. Remember the wait. The wait is the entire story, and we're coming back to it. Now the winery itself. A crush pad, fermentation tanks, a barrel cave bored into the hillside, and the permits. Oh, the permits. In Napa County, approval to build and operate a winery can take years of hearings before you legally pour a single glass. Budget $5 to $15 million, and that's if the county likes your face. Barrels, French oak, about $1,200 a piece, and each one is only truly good for a few vintages. Then a tasting room, a winemaker with a resume, a vineyard manager, licenses from 3 separate layers of government, federal, state, and county, each with its own paperwork, its own fees, and its own opinion of you. Add it up, and the ticket to do this properly lands between $30 and $50 million. Of course, you have that. Money was never the problem. The problem is what you actually bought. Because nobody tells you this while you're signing. You did not buy a farm. You bought 3 businesses stapled together, a farm, a factory, and a luxury brand. And each of the 3 knows a different way to kill the other 2. Let's watch the bleeding start. There are 4 wounds. Count them with me. Wound number 1, the calendar. Plant a vine today. Year 1, it gives you nothing. Year 2, nothing again. Year 3, a shy little crop that you mostly cut off and drop on the ground, on purpose to strengthen the plant. Year 4, your first real harvest. Congratulations, now make wine out of it. A serious red spends 18 to 24 months in barrel, then more time resting in bottle, which means your first meaningful check arrives in year 5. More realistically, year 6. Do the math on that. From the day your money goes into the ground to the day money comes back out, roughly 2,000 days. Write that number down. It returns at the end of this video. And when it does, it comes back holding a knife. And while you wait, payroll doesn't wait. Payroll is every 2 weeks, starting immediately. Interest doesn't wait. Interest is every month, starting immediately. The property tax bill arrives on schedule, sun or smoke. You are now running an operation with all the expenses of a factory and the revenue of a rock garden. Wound number 2, the burn. Farming a single acre of premium vines costs $10,000 to $15,000 every year. Pruning in the winter fog, vine by hand. Thinning the canopy leaf by leaf in July. Spraying, mowing, dropping fruit. And then harvest, which in Napa often happens at 2 in the morning by headlamp, with a crew you pay by the ton because the sugar is perfect at 2 in the morning and not at 9. On your 40 acres, that's roughly $500,000 a year, whether you sell every bottle or none. A vineyard is the only luxury purchase on earth that keeps sending you invoices for the privilege of owning it. Wound number 3, the sky. One clear, windless night in April, 1, can erase your entire year. Frost slides into the low rows while you're asleep, and by breakfast, the new shoots are black. That's why Napa growers buy wind machines, and why, on the worst nights, they hire helicopters to hover over the vines and stir the warm air down. You will one day pay a pilot to fly circles over grapes in the dark, and you will consider it a bargain. Then there's hail, drought, heat spikes that cook fruit where it hangs, and since 2020, a new horseman, smoke. When wildfires burned across California that year, the smoke didn't need to touch a single vine. Grapes drank it straight through their skins. Winemakers call it smoke taint. The wine tastes like a wet ashtray, and there is no reliable cure. Entire estates made 0 red wine in 2020. 0. Between 165,000 and 325,000 tons of California grapes were simply left hanging, and the damage to the industry was estimated at $3.7 billion. Insurance, you ask? Insurance covered a sliver, and losing one vintage is a 3-year financial hole, because that wine was supposed to fund the next 2. And if you think danger only falls from above, the industry once buried itself from below. Through the 80s, California replanted enormous acreage on a rootstock called AXR1, recommended at the time by the top experts in the field. A microscopic root louse called phylloxera evolved and ate it alive. Napa and Sonoma spent the 90s ripping out and replanting tens of thousands of acres, a forced do-over that cost well over $1 billion. Sit with that. The vineyard is the only asset class where the ground itself can fire you. Wound number 4, the toll booth. Suppose you survive all of it. You hold an actual bottle of actual wine, and it's good. Now try to sell it. In America, thanks to laws written in the shadow of prohibition, you generally cannot just sell your wine to stores and restaurants. It must pass through the 3-tier system. You sell to a distributor, the distributor sells to the retailer sells to the drinker. By the time your bottle reaches a shelf, roughly half its price belongs to people who never touched a vine. And here's the joke inside the joke. The big distributors don't even want you. You're a rounding error. 3,000 cases from a nobody with a nice gate. Meanwhile, the customer at the far end of the pipeline is quietly leaving the table. Americans drink less wine every year, and drinkers under 40 barely reach for it at all. You built a factory for a product the country is slowly breaking up with, and the only legal road to the customer runs through a toll booth, so the amateur is bleeding from 4 wounds. Surely the answer is to stop being an amateur. Go big, get professional, buy scale. Somebody tried exactly that. Let's open the file. Vintage Wine Estates, a California roll-up of roughly 34 wine brands, one of the 15 largest producers in the United States, moving about 2 million cases a year, built by professionals, backed by private equity. This was not a retiree with a dream, this was the industry's varsity team. In June of 2021, at the very top of the easy money era, it went public through a SPAC, a blank check shell company that lets you list on the stock exchange through the side door, fast, while the crowd is still cheering. Valuation, $690 million. The stock traded around $13 a share. The pitch was seductive, and it rhymed with everything you just watched. Wine's problems are small guy problems. Scale fixes them. 15 months later, the company surprised Wall Street with a $27 million operating loss, including a $19 million write-down on its own inventory. In English, the wine sitting in the warehouse was worth far less than the books claimed. The stock started sliding and never found a floor. Then, the era turned. Interest rates climbed, and the company's $400 million of debt got heavier every quarter. Remember, this entire industry runs on borrowed money and patience. Americans kept drinking less. The warehouse kept filling. The math that had looked like a flywheel started looking like a millstone. In July of 2024, Vintage Wine Estates filed for Chapter 11. The stock that had been $13 was trading at 6.7 cents. Not $6, 6 cents and change. At auction, the empire was carved up. More than 30 brands, 11 wineries, 9 tasting rooms, sold in pieces for roughly $158 million total. A company priced at $690 million 3 years earlier, gone for about 23 cents on the dollar. Public shareholders got the lesson instead of the money. And before you file this under one company's bad luck, zoom out. In Bordeaux, the French government has been paying growers thousands of euros per hectare to rip healthy vines out of the ground because Europe now grows more wine than it drinks. Storied chateaux have listed for less than a Paris apartment. When France starts digging up Bordeaux, the romance is officially over. So the amateurs get eaten by the calendar and the professionals get eaten by the debt. Which brings us at last to the number. Every file on this channel ends the same way, with the one number that did the killing. In the Vineyard file, it isn't the price per acre. It isn't the tanks, the barrels, or the helicopter pilot. It's this: 2,000 days. 2,000 days, 5.5 years, give or take, between the moment your money goes into the ground and the moment the first real money climbs back out. That's the gap. Every horror you've watched tonight lives inside that gap. Interest compounds inside it. At 8%, borrowed money roughly doubles every 9 years, and your clock started the day you signed, not the day you sold your first case. Payroll runs inside it, 26 paychecks a year, rain, shine, or smoke. And the sky gets 5 or 6 free swings at you inside it. 5 or 6 full vintages of frost, fire, and ash before you have banked $1 of revenue. A casino can have a bad night. A restaurant can have a bad month. A vineyard has a bad half-decade before it is even allowed to have a good day. The land doesn't kill you, the wine doesn't kill you. The calendar kills you, quietly, politely, at compound interest. Cause of death, in file after file after file, time. And yet, drive through Napa tonight and the lights are on. Somebody is making this work. For every 20 people who chase this dream, maybe one walks away ahead. And the survivors all break the same 4 rules of the fantasy. All 4, not some. First, they never plant. They buy vines that are already producing, so the previous owner is the one who donated 2,000 days of interest payments to the cause. In this business, the pioneer pays for the road and the settler drives in on it. Second, they skip the toll booth. The survivors sell as little as possible through distributors and as much as possible through the front door. The tasting room, the wine club, the mailing list, the weddings on the crush pad. A bottle sold off your own porch keeps the whole price. The best small wineries aren't really in the wine business at all. They're in the memberships and memories business. And the wine is the souvenir. Third, they're honest about what they bought. A great Napa vineyard is world-class real estate that happens to grow grapes. The land does the earning. The wine, if you're disciplined, pays the gardeners. The moment you need the wine alone to justify the price, you have already lost. You just haven't gotten the invoice yet. And fourth, they pick a size and commit. Tiny and cult, or enormous and industrial. The middle, too big to be a hobby, too small for the supermarket shelf, is a kill zone. It is the exact stretch of road where our $690 million friend broke down and never restarted. 1 in 20. Those are the odds when you do everything right. Time to sign the certificate. Asset: 1 Napa Valley vineyard, 40 acres, winery included. Cause of death, the calendar, killer number, 2,000 days. Survivability, about 1 in 20. And that glass at sunset, the one from the beginning, with your name on the gate, it's real. You can absolutely have it. Just know what's being poured. If the dream costs you what it costs the files in this drawer, that glass runs somewhere north of $20,000 a sip. And it pairs beautifully with regret, because the wine was never the product. The dream was, and dreams don't have margins. Next on the slab, a building that cost $2.4 billion to raise and sold for the price of its furniture. Bring a coat. Atlantic City gets cold.